Hello everyone, welcome back to another stream on Fancy Football Scout. Today I'm joined by Gianni Battici as usual. And today we're going to look at how our game week 29 has went, and we'll also have a look forward at game week 30. Please do let me know if the audio is okay. Gianni, how are we keeping?
Yeah, man, all good. All good. Blank game week 29 was always going to be an interesting conversation, an interesting topic. We had loads of build up to it, and now we've got the reaction to it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes or so. And mate, we've not got another game week deadline till April. It's the 16th of March. It's madness. So yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I agree. It's a big stretch until the next game week. Hopefully the audio is a small bit better now. I'm trying to adjust it as we go. Apologies for that. It changes every stream. I don't know why. But hopefully it is a bit better now. But yeah, it is a long stretch until the next game week. It is quite annoying. I feel like it's been quite drawn out in the months of February and March, and to be honest, I'm used to it now. But it is what it is, and we have to look forward.
Yeah, exactly. There was huge chat, weren't there, in the week? Like, should you free hit? Should you wildcard? Should you take hits? I mean, it feels like one of those weeks where those that have taken big hits are probably on a red arrow, because the hits were brought in for players that perhaps didn't perform. Although if you hit in Haaland, and quite a few did, yourself included, and you captained him, you're probably done quite well. Loads went Chris Wood, but still loads went Bruno, and we're recording this before Bruno plays. So again, there could still be a further swing, couldn't there?
Yeah, for sure. And we got that Carabao Cup game, Johnny. How are we feeling about that?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, I think every neutral that isn't a Sunderland fan wants Newcastle to win that. But I don't know, man. I think Liverpool favourites for a reason. I see a Liverpool win, but I really hope Newcastle can do it because I think their fans deserve it.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be an interesting game for sure. And I'm looking forward to it on at 4:30. And then we have the United game a bit later at an unusual time. But yeah, a lot of people with a United asset or two, especially those on free hit. Do you own many, Jenny?
Just the two. I've got Bruno and Mazraoui. I really wanted to punt towards Man United. I was tempted to back a United attacker other than Bruno. I was speaking to Late Riser in the week, obviously United fan. If I've ever got a United question, I kind of hit him up. And I said, mate, is it completely rogue? And I knew it was rogue, but what did he think to a Garnacho punt? And he said, no, don't do it. He said Xerxes could be a punt, but forward spots were so precious in my team. I could punt on a midfielder, but not really a forward. So I ended up going Semenyo and Kluivert instead of, say, Kluivert and Garnacho or Kluivert and whoever. But yeah, Bruno and Mazraoui. I mean, Leicester haven't scored a goal in 6 games. Fingers crossed, Man United could keep a clean sheet, although it'd be so free hit for, Leicester to go and score. So let's see how they get on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now I'm going to bring up my current game week 29 score.
Yeah.
I've got my game week 29 team score. I'm currently on 48 points with a -4, so 44 altogether. Small green arrow, not the greatest, not the worst. My 4 transfers this week were Josko Guardiola in for Trent. I brought in Jared Bowen in for Salah. I brought Watkins up to a Haaland, and then 1 minute before the deadline, I took a -4 for Marmoush for Cody Gakpo, and oh boy, how did that pay out, Jenny?
I said all week, like, I was obviously on free hit, unlike you, but we both similarly reacted in a similar way. Like I said all week, I put Foden in my free hit team. And I was always like, I'm only going to pick Foden if I see a leak he starts, because Foden's been too risky. And actually in my team selection video, I had like a picture of Foden, a picture of De Bruyne. But I said all week, like in our group chat we're in, like, if I don't hear any news on De Bruyne or Foden, I just won't go there. But if I hear news on, say, Marmoush, then perhaps I will. And yeah, it was Marmoush we got the leak on. I think we got a leak on Savio as well, but I wasn't too interested in Savio. So it was an easy decision for me. If I want another City attacker, go Marmoush. So like you, I went Haaland and Marmoush. So I was buzzing with that, man, because we were 20, 30 minutes into the game, or was it 45? But certainly around half time, where I was like, Marmoush has got 2 returns. This is brilliant. This is going really well. And second half, Brighton were really good and Man City didn't really show up. But it was nice to have those points. And I think the big talking point for game week 30 is going to be, do we want Marmoush in our teams? You've got both. There's a lot, like the free hitters, that won't have Haaland or Marmoush. Do you rip up your team or take a 4-point hit to get Haaland in? Or with one transfer, do you just go straight to Marmoush? And I think after yesterday's performance, a lot will just go, Marmoush might not get the same points as Haaland. It might be a close race. Haaland might edge it, but he's half the price. So, yeah, I mean, what's your take there? If you're looking at pure value, then Marmoush wins out, doesn't he?
Yeah, half the price, half the points, especially when Haaland has been a small bit underwhelming this season, I guess, for his standards. And Marmoush, of course, the new boy on the scene. I do feel like he definitely provides a lot of value, and I don't know how confident I am of him starting versus Leicester. I'll be honest. Again, I did take my transfers this week in a 2-week block, so looked at Bone and I saw Everton Wolves. That was a decision for me on why I brought in Bone, even though West Ham have been quite poor. And same with Marmoush. I looked at this game versus Brighton. I saw goals there for City. And of course, a lovely fixture at Leicester at home, providing he gets the minutes. So, I mean, he's been an amazing transfer so far. Let's see if we can get a bit more out of him in game week 30. I think the reason for me doubling up on the City attack was because I know I'm going to wildcard in game week 31. Makes it a bit easier to go for a bit of a punt, and it has paid off so far. So I'm happy with the moves for sure. I think my team for game week 30 is very, very good. Again, I probably would have wanted a small bit of a bigger green this week. Of course, a lot of my other assets not working out, and that wipeout for the Everton clean sheet with a Jared Bowen assist. It is what it is, but a lot of people with United players to play and a Bruno captain will be happy with a grey arrow come the end of this game week.
Yeah, that's the big one. I'm on 45 and I'm on free hit. There's only 1 point between us, but I guess I've got those 2 Man United players. So it depends what a Mazraoui and a Bruno can do. The hopes are high for Bruno, to the point where a lot of managers have captained him. He did get 17 points last time out against Leicester, but I don't think we'll see that again this evening. But even one return, I think owners are probably happy. I would like 10 points minimum from Mazraoui and Bruno, but I don't know. I could be left with 4. Who knows? So let's see. But I think the free hit for me always felt like a low ceiling week, and yes, I went there, but I planned it a very long time ago, and so many are judging free hit based on, did I get a green or a red arrow? How many points did I get? But for those on free hit, hopefully it's not just this week. It was what you could do with your team in the last couple of weeks to get you to free hit. For example, those on free hit were mainly buying, or I certainly was, Crystal Palace and Newcastle players who, like Ismail Assar, came in and got me points. Munoz got managers points. Dan Burn got me points last time out. So recent recruits that have got you points. So don't always just look at the week in isolation and go, I'm so annoyed I've wasted a free hit or whatever. It's not about that. It's about the weeks before and after. Just like you with your wildcard, Chai, like you know you're probably wildcarding in 31. Therefore, your transfers are now 2-week blocks. You bought in Marmoush for 2 weeks. So I like that. So yeah, just a little bit of a back step for those judging where they're at with their game week 29. Don't read too much into it. Certainly look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, for sure, Jenny. I would agree with that. On that point, let's speak about some of the games that have happened this game week in game week 29. Which games have you caught this week? I watched a small bit of the City game. I, of course, watched Spurs just a minute ago, unfortunately. I assumed you watched the Chelsea-Arsenal game, and yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if you watched 2 others on Saturday. Tell me.
Yeah, do you know what? It was my mum's birthday yesterday, so I didn't actually watch the Saturday games. I did catch up on Match of the Day this morning before my morning stream. I do a Sunday debrief, and it's good to see you in the chat this morning on my channel. But that kind of, even the games I don't watch, I feel like I'm well updated because I go through all the data, scout members area info. I look at all the visual stuff, the pass maps, the minutes, the heat maps, the XG plots, and it kind of brings me up to speed. So whilst I tell a lie. I watched Bournemouth-Brentford yesterday. I was home for that one, and I had Semenyo and Kluivert, and I was devastated when Kluivert crossed it to Semenyo, who headed it against the bar. So no, I watched Bournemouth-Brentford and Arsenal-Chelsea. So yeah, the 2. And I'll watch Leicester United later because it's 7 p.m. on a Sunday night. I'm not going to be doing much. So yeah, I mean, good. what we saw yesterday, mate, we saw 10 teams in action and not a single clean sheet. And that was really tricky for wildcarders, free hitters, was picking defenders on free hit, because none of them from the bookies odds were rated over 38% to keep it clean. Usually you have a team with around 50% where you could just go big on them. We didn't get that in 29. Another reason why 29 didn't feel like a high upside free hit week.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of those picking the likes of a Milenkovic done very, very well. Yeah, I feel like it was always going to be tricky, like you said, and I agree with that. I just wonder how people, are people satisfied with a green arrow, like you said, with the free hit? Are your teams better prepared than my own one who's not on free hit for Game Week 30? I'm quite happy with my own team for Game Week 30, and the plan to wildcard in 31. And I just wonder, knowing that this was going to be a low upside week, I just felt like those on free hit probably could have grabbed a difference of 10 points easily on free hit. And even though it doesn't look like a big score in a low scoring week, I feel like it is a nice, how do I say it, discrepancy in points in comparison to non-free hitters who, of course, like myself, had to take a hit. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah.
You took a hit from Marmoush, which was brilliant, and you're the type of manager that would. There's a lot that were not on free hit that saw the Marmoush news and weren't able to react. And they weren't able to react was because, one, they were happy with their front line, or two, they didn't want to punt on Marmoush knowing they don't know if he starts the next week or whatever. You are different to that. You look at points on the table here and now, and you're only betting on a 2-week window. And look, Marmoush has started 6 of 7 since he's been in the City team in the Premier League. Like, of course, he's first choice. So you didn't see it as a risk. But most of the Marmoush punters were free hitters, the vast, vast, vast majority, right? So you're slightly different there. I reckon your score is better than most that were not on free hit. So I hope it's not a 10-point improvement. It's more like a 15-20. But let's see. It depends what Bruno and Mazraoui do, because we're a good test here. We're on the same point. I've got Bruno Mazraoui, but I also think yours is probably a better than average team with Marmoush. So yeah, it'll be really interesting. Really interesting. But how you're shaped up for 30, again, is a really interesting conversation. Like the 30, the free hitters should have a lot of Palace players. Palace play Southampton. I've got triple Palace in 30. So whilst I don't have Haaland yet, which the non-free hitters might have, I do have, say, triple Palace against Southampton, which is a sexy fixture. But then I don't have Bournemouth players, which again, the non-free hitters will have. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And on that note, let's take a look at my Game Week 30 team. Again, please do not make any early transfers during this international break. A lot can happen, Gianni. We see it every single season. And people are stung. I can't wait to see that tweet of someone going early. It happens every single year. But in front of you, I've got my Game Week 30 team. Let me quickly run through it. 1 free transfer, 3.1 million in the bank. Currently sitting at 160k overall. Have all my chips bar assistant manager. On goal, we've got Pickford versus Liverpool. We've got 3 at the back with Munoz, Gabriel, Guardiola. 4 in midfield, Kluivert, Trossard, Bowen and Palmer. And 3 up top in Marmoush, Pedro, Haaland. And on the bench, we currently got Rodgers. On paper, Gianni, I don't think this team needs a move. Speak to me about Cole Palmer. Is he one that I need to be looking to get rid of?
Oh, mate. Oh, he's obviously awesome. And he's obviously not been playing well. But the underlying numbers suggest like he's getting the chances. The goals will come because we know he's a good finisher. Whatever. The problem is Chelsea. Chelsea look so bad. Chelsea limped over the line against Copenhagen on Thursday night. Chelsea were poor against Arsenal. Palmer or no Palmer, I feel like Chelsea are going to be bad. So I'm with you. Like there's a very good chance I keep Palmer, but I don't know. I don't know because he just hasn't been turning up. Spurs is a good entry point or a good fixture to keep him in. Then it's Brentford away. Okay, tough fixture. But then it is Ipswich in 32. Great fixture. I said all week Palmer was a sell if it got you to Haaland. But if you got to Haaland a different way and you still have Palmer, now I don't know if Palmer's the sell. I mean, it's going to be interesting because Saka's back in the mix very soon. And I think that will just about force everyone to sell Palmer that's still got him when Saka's returns. But we still don't know exactly when that will be. I mean, what are your what was your plan with Palmer? Were you planning on keeping him, or while keeping him for a week and then wildcarding him and out? And then my second question as part of that is, how did Spurs look today?
To be honest, Spurs looked terrible. That's the first thing. What was my plan on Cole Palmer? And a few people asking about Mo Salah. I was just messing around with FPL team in front of you. And it looks like I could do Cole Palmer up to Mo Salah. I have enough money in the bank, which is interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, you're right about Chelsea. They have looked a bit flat. It's interesting because at one point in the season we did speak about them potentially Gianni going for the title. That fizzled out relatively fast. But yeah, Chelsea have been so weird because, of course, without Jackson, things have had to change with the likes of Nkunku. And no Palmer again against Arsenal. You probably weren't expecting much anyway, Gianni. I don't know how you feel about that. But Cole Palmer has been off the ball. That's the end of it. And I do feel like it is fairly reasonable to get rid of him. I probably planned on getting rid of him during wildcard because I wanted both Haaland and Salah. And that probably does make sense in hindsight. But I feel like if Palmer had returned this week, we'd be having a different conversation. So maybe that is a bit knee-jerky. I'm not quite sure, but I'll have to sit on it a bit longer.
Yeah, I think too. I think you're right. It's nice you've got the money in the bank, that you can be super flexible, and you also know whatever you do in 30, you've got an out. You've got your wild card in 31, very likely. I can't wait to know more about Saka. The problem is with Saka is Arteta doesn't tell us, but we just need to see some positive signs, maybe some more training ground pictures. And Saka's going to become a real option again because we know, he gives us choice in that kind of premium midfield bracket. And we also know the Arsenal fixtures are quite nice. So I'm interested in Saka when fit, and that does probably mean Palmer goes. But how do you feel that Chelsea-Spurs matchup? You've seen Spurs today. I've not watched them. I'm guessing Fulham deserved a 2-0 victory, but that's without seeing anything. What was the game like?
Yeah, for sure. We were just a bit flat, sloppy. Probably exactly what people expected. And again, me being a Spurs fan, I go into it not looking forward to it, and it's exactly what happened. So it's quite disappointing. Speaking about how I feel about Tottenham versus Chelsea, of course, you know our record at Stamford Bridge, Gianni. I don't think I need to go into that very much. And on paper, I always feel like against Chelsea, there's always going to be goals in it. And it always just happens to be that ye score more goals than us, and knowing our look, Cole Palmer will be back, and this will be the game he starts returning. So I don't know how you feel about Gianni. I don't feel great about it at all. Now, in fairness to us, we do have our team back, but I think regardless, we'll be concentrating on the Europa League. Not great.
Yeah. I must admit, the first free hit draft I made was before you played in the Europa League against whoever on last Thursday, and I watched that game. Was like, but I had Son in it. I was just like, I'm gonna punt for Spurs attacker because then on any given day Son could turn up. But then I saw how you were playing and was just like, no, I can't. And then obviously today Fulham looked comfortable for the data I saw. But it's a difficult one with that fixture because it's our two teams, but two teams where you just go, that's so out of form. Is it going to be a bore draw, 1-0 win or 0-0? Or are we going to see like we usually do with Chelsea Spurs, which is goal fests? And if we see goal fests because we see two bad defenses, I'm like, Palmer could be really fun. Palmer could be a great own against Spurs. So I just don't know how to judge that fixture yet.
Yeah, I agree. And just going back to that point on Saka, I see a few people in chat speaking about him. I actually don't know if I'm overly tempted by Saka. And the reason being is such a big injury for a player like him. I feel like it takes wingers especially a bit of more time to get back into the swing of things. Now, if he is starting, that means, of course, Arteta puts the trust in him. But for that price point, I don't know if especially when I want both Salah and Haaland, want to be throwing that many funds towards the likes of a Saka. Again, we know how good he can be, and especially at the start of this season, he was absolutely amazing as an asset. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what way people start going towards if he's back.
Yeah, you're right. It should take a while. The only other whether he's up and running or not, one thing we know with Arteta is he'll probably flog him. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, he'll need some rhythm. But I want to go back just to your team because it's set so well. I thought João Pedro against Man City was really good. You obviously only got a 1-pointer, but he caused them a few problems. And that Brighton attack in general looks really fun, doesn't it? With Minter on the right, Matoma on the left, and then it's Jorginho, Rutter, and Pedro down the middle as like a two. They're playing well.
Yeah, it's unusual because there was a stint where we thought João Pedro was completely out of the team. Now suddenly he's like their best player again, like the manager used to always say. But I feel like the two behind Pedro is still uncertain. I feel like if you own any of those, like, you never know who's going to start on a weekly basis. Maybe that's just me. I wouldn't be confident anyway going for any of those midfielders. But yeah, Pedro for me is definitely a hold. I think he showed me enough now, and he's been decently returning in recent weeks, so I'm more than happy to hold on to a Pedro for the time being. 3.1 million in the bank though, Gianni. That's a lot of room to work with. Is there anyone that stands out other than Salah for Palmer for that position of João Pedro? It leaves 8.7 in the bank.
Because you're looking at likely only a 1 game week window, I would probably roll the transfer and then go into wildcard with the free transfers in hand, which could be powerful. We know that for many, they're going to be shopping now for Palace and Newcastle, because Palace and Newcastle double in 32. They're the next 2 teams that double, right? They're the only 2 teams that double in 32. Thing is, you don't need to worry about Palace and Newcastle because you're going to wildcard before that happens. So if you're set on that wildcard, I think you should probably just roll the transfer. If you're not sure, then you could bring in a Palace player now, because Southampton's a great fixture for Palace. But, you know, I look at your team, I don't think you necessarily need to. Like, you could go... You can't really go Mateta because you can't sell any of your 3 forwards. You could go Ismail Assar, you could go Eze. I know you like Eze. Trossard could leave your team, maybe. I wonder now with Martinelli back fit, and obviously Wanyeri, Martinelli, Trossard, it's been 2 from 3, but now Saka could be back from 30 as well. I just wonder if Trossard is a transfer out waiting to happen for you.
Yeah, he for sure is, but I think now is just like home game versus Fulham. I'll just leave him in there.
And he should start, shouldn't he? Like, it's 31, you'll be worried about Trossard more.
Exactly. Yeah, I do feel like the only obvious move is probably Palmer to Salah, but even at that, only if Palmer is a doubt. I feel like I'm more than happy to go against Salah this week if I have the armband on Erling Haaland.
What about your goalkeeper, mate? Like, again, because you're only looking at a 1 week window, Pickford's fine for Liverpool. I don't mind playing Pickford in hard fixtures because knowing Moisey, they'll cause an upset in one of those hard fixtures and now he'll get loads of save points anyway. But if you weren't wildcarding, you might look at a run and go, do I want to keep Pickford and Mikalenko, or do I perhaps want to sell one of them? But again, if you're wildcarding in 31, you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the joy of doing it in 31. I don't feel like it's worth a transfer, of course, this week. I think you're right. Save points minimum, hopefully, versus Liverpool. You expect a lot of shot volume from Liverpool. Mikalenko, I feel like he's almost a season holder again. It will start looking a bit different though, with the likes of my bench boost being considered. That's where players like Rodgers and Mikalenko could potentially leave if I plan on doing something a bit different later down the line. And same with Ward and Greaves. It is a bit awkward right now. So those players will go on wildcard. It's just who to bring in for the time being. I just need more information for the fixtures, Gianni.
Yeah, I'd say that's why wildcard 31 looks so powerful, because so many will be able to roll a transfer. Let's go back to Marmoush versus Haaland, because I'm so interested to what the chat are doing here as well, and get your comments in. Forget you own both. So let's say you're like me, mate, and you've just free hit in 29, and in your actual team you've got a front line of, say, well, Isak, Mateta, and Cunha. You're going to sell Cunha this week. Do you sell Cunha and bring in Haaland? Better be on a -4. You'd have to downgrade, say, a Palmer. Or do you just go straight to Marmoush? But then perhaps you're not as confident captaining a Marmoush as you are a Haaland, and you captain, say, a Salah. I mean, where are you at with those 2 forwards?
Yeah, I think I would prefer to go with the Marmoush. You were saying take a hit for Haaland.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
and anyone bringing Haaland in this week is going to need 2 transfers. So it's effectively a hit anyway.
And no, definitely Marmoush, especially in a game like Leicester. You would expect Marmoush to get the minutes, and any of those four can score for City, yeah, against Leicester. So definitely Marmoush for me.
I think so as well. My plan was always Haaland, but seeing Marmoush, I'm very happy going Marmoush and keeping Palmer. Like for me, it's like Haaland and say Minter or Marmoush and Palmer. It's a no-brainer, Marmoush and Palmer. Like for me, so yeah, I'm quite excited about that. I think, and captaincy, like you don't have Salah. Do you think the majority will go to Salah or will they go Haaland?
If they have both,
Yeah.
that is tough. I want to say that's hard to answer because people are so easy to throw the armband on Salah now because how good he's been, and I think rightfully so. For me, I'm not that type, unfortunately. If it was me, I'd be throwing the armband on Haaland. I'd be going for the fixture. And of course, Liverpool also have no Champions League now, so you'd imagine Liverpool would be quite rootless going through this run. For me, it's Haaland. If you want to put on Salah, I just feel like Everton's always a tough game, though. Merseyside derby.
So Man City play on the 2nd of April, and I think the deadline, am I right in saying the deadline is the 1st? I think it's a Tuesday night deadline, the 1st. So we're not going to get a Man City leak. The possible leaks will come from Arsenal, maybe Man United. Yeah, it's the Wednesday night, which is big. The reason City are playing on the Wednesday is because they have an FA Cup game on the Sunday against Bournemouth. So Man City go into that Leicester game having just played Bournemouth on the Sunday. They play Sunday, Wednesday, and then I think it's the following Saturday, the Manchester derby. Is there a fear? Oh, no, sorry, it's a Sunday. They play Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday. Is there a fear that a City player, a Marmoush or a Haaland could miss out? I don't think there is there? Like they play Champions League all the time where they go full 11. But it would be Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday turnaround. Does that bother us at all about being invested in Man City attack?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I just feel like we haven't quite seen that recently with Pep, with the big boys. Yeah. Again, they've been a bit poor, so maybe that's the reason, but I do expect Haaland to get good minutes, and to be honest, I'd be surprised if he didn't start that Leicester game. No, I don't think I'm too worried. Maybe Marmoush for an early sub, 70 minutes. Maybe same with Haaland, 75 minutes. But I think I'd be more than happy with going into him with that fixture.
Yeah, I'm the same. And mate, would you consider Captain Marmoush? Like, is it like you're going to go to a Man City player? I know you are. You're going to love that fixture. Even if you own Salah, I think you'd be on a Man City forward. Do you reckon it will be Haaland over Marmoush? Obviously, Haaland's got the routes to points with pens and stuff, but the way they're both playing, seeing them yesterday, like Marmoush is he shoots on sight. He's obviously playing with confidence. And any temptation there?
No, not really. I think I'm just gonna keep it on the pen taker. I think we've seen in recent weeks, especially pen takers are doing quite well. So I'm just gonna leave it on Haaland. Trust him, unfortunately, even though that's not me. And ride it out. I mean, I think like it would give me way more peace of mind leaving it on Haaland than trying to play around with Marmoush. Speak to me about a City attacker, Gianni, for those that are not on wildcard. Is City defense just done for the season? Was it a mistake by me to bring in Guardiola for last week? Did you understand where I was coming from?
Mate, I was close to bringing him in on free hit. In fact, I think he's on my free hit bench. Problem with Guardiola is last month or so, he's not been attacking much. He's effectively a back three on the ball. So Guardiola isn't the Guardiola we saw at the start of the season, which got him 5 goals. He ain't taking up those advanced positions. The main reason why is Doku's playing. When Doku plays wide left, Guardiola doesn't have the space to go into. If it's a Grealish or a Foden or whoever on the left, Bernardo Silva, whoever he chucks out there, and they often invert, and therefore Guardiola, certainly earlier in the season, was the attacking left-sided player in the team. Guardiola ain't that anymore, which is fine because he still can be a set-piece threat. He can still pick up bonus points, and he should still be able to get clean sheets. But man, Brighton were either very good or City were just continuing to be a terrible, shaky defence. And I think it was a combination of the both. But again, yesterday it was like 2.5 XG conceded. They'll probably keep a clean versus Leicester. You surely expect them to. But if they play any average teams or mid-table teams, which they play a lot of, I don't think we're going to see that many cleans. We should do. But Manchester derby, doubt it. Palace, doubt it. Everton, Villa, Wolves, maybe one in those three. But yeah, I'm not sure Guardiola is the best buy now necessarily because he's not cheap. I prefer an Arsenal defender.
Yeah, I understand that. And just looking a small bit more forward, again, the structures of teams will change with everyone hitting that wildcard button. But who are the defence to go for, Gianni? Again, we don't know the fixtures yet, but are you saying, are you going to default on Arsenal defence because we know how good they are? Or are Liverpool
Maybe.
still part of that thinking without the doubles? Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah. And without Trent, like, I don't think Trent's going to be around for a while. So I backed against the Arsenal defence in game week 20. I sold Gabriel. I've not owned him since, other than on free hit. But they haven't been performing that well. And again, even today, it was a clean sheet, but Chelsea didn't turn up. I do think I want Gabriel back. And when I wildcard or maybe on a transfer, I'll bring him in. But other than an Arsenal defender, it's Munoz, it's Kirkez. They're the two that stand out for me in that 5 million bracket. You've got Munoz already. If you don't own Munoz, go buy him in game week 30. Like, honestly, Munoz is flying. He's a perfect recruit at the minute. So yeah, I like them a lot. And I wonder if the teams that double in 33, like you could see a double from Brighton, could see a double from Fulham, like players like Robinson or Estupinan might just become part of our thinking again.
Yeah, I think the Brighton one is really interesting because the Leicester game in 32 and then Brentford and West Ham, that's a really nice fixture set for him. Again, the João Pedro one I own. Is it worth keeping him on wildcard? I'm not quite sure yet. Again, when we get a bit more information, I'll be able to make a decision. But I can't stop looking at, again, I don't know the exact percentages of some of these doubles, Jenny, because they're not set in stone. But the likes of having a Bowen or a Tyler Dibbling for these games, I know I spoke about him last week, but there's just something so nice about having players that are going to be so low owned going into that double if it does happen.
You know, Dibbling actually looked really good yesterday. Southampton were the better team against Wolves, and Dibbling, played well, got the assist, I think. I'm not saying go and buy Tyler Dibbling, everyone. He's not been getting the minutes either, but Brighton definitely appeal. Bournemouth could get the double. It'll be either Bournemouth or Man City that double in 33 because they play each other. Remember, the teams that double in 33 will blank in 34, but almost certainly Aston Villa get a double as well. Like, again, will Watkins come part of the thinking on wildcard? If you're wildcarding in 31, you get, or even 32, you get Southampton as an entry point followed by a double for Rodgers owners too. So I can't wait to know more about these doubles in 33. And the projections are only projections, of course. The only double set in stone on this graphic is the 32 doubles, which is why Palace and Newcastle should be front of mind. I'm going to go into these fixtures. I've currently got 5. I've got 3 Palace, 2 Newcastle. I probably want to get to triple. I want to get to 6 because I think the points are there for them because they're both good teams. They've got good fixtures around that. Like before the double, Newcastle, I think, have like an Ipswich. Before the double, Palace have Southampton in 30. So that's where my attention's going. If you're on wildcard, you don't need to think about that just yet, though.
Yeah, I think I'll own 5 from Crystal Palace, Newcastle, 3 from Newcastle, 2 from Palace. And I think going into the, like you said about the Villa double being confirmed, well, almost confirmed, I will own 3 going into that game. I'm going to own Rodgers and Watkins, and I probably will own a defender. I know we spoke about it a few weeks ago, how poor they've been this season, but I love playing the doubles, man, and that Southampton fixture, like you said, is a really good entry point. Even though I'll be wildcarding in 31, I feel like that Forest Villa game could be a tight game. Villa usually keep it quite tight against some of the teams that are doing quite well, and we know Forest are quite defensive-mindedly first.
Yeah, they are. I mean, mate, yesterday, Forest, and again, like, don't want to keep banging on about free hit, but seeing as so many are on free hit, I will do. I think Ipswich XG was 0.39 off the top of my head. Like, they shouldn't be conceding. Forest don't concede to 0.39 XG, and they conceded 2. So if you went for a Forest defender not named Milenkovic, or you went for Matt Sales, as I did, like, you probably count yourself a tad unlucky with 1 point. But it was still, despite the goals, based on the XGC, and I like XGC and I like XG, I would suggest that it was still a very good defensive performance. They conceded 0.39 at home in the Premier League. Like, that's a good showing. So yeah, still for those on wildcard, let's try not to continue to sleep on Forest because we have all season and they just turn up. They're very good defensively.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to let everyone in chat know, Gianni's Zoom video is on a timer, so his face might cut out in a second. So I might wrap it up in about 2 minutes, Gianni. I'll give you a bell. But yeah, on Forest, I got away with one this week. Of course, Chris Wood not returning, fortunately enough for me. And of course, Forest also getting that -1 point for defenders that weren't Milenkovic. Delighted with that, of course, not owning any Forest. You think that was a bit bold for myself to go into the week without a Chris Wood? Should I have prioritised a Chris Wood? I know in hindsight Marmoush worked out for me, but would you have done Chris Wood if you didn't own him ahead of Marmoush?
I'd have gone Marmoush too, man. Like, so many went Chris Wood, but I've been guilty of not owning Chris Wood all season, so I don't think one fixture against Ipswich away would have changed my mind. Also, we got the league, and you and I love punting on a player that we know is starting with a high upside fixture or high upside team. But most importantly, you loved the fact he was a differential, as did I, which is why we both went there. So fingers crossed, Marmoush continues to bang. But I feel like certainly amongst the community, he's a bit of a sleeper pick. So yeah, well played for going there. And for anyone in the chat that's looking at Marmoush, I still think he's a very good buy ahead of Leicester.
Yeah, okay, so just to recap, my Game Week 30 team, again, it is so far away and a lot can change. But right now, if I had to put my money on it, I would say I'm about 80% chance of rolling. Off the odd chance that I want to get rid of Palmer and do him up to Salah, I think that's my only other move that I could do. Again, Morgan Rogers is on the bench if I wanted to play him, so that's why I don't think a transfer is probably what I'd rather go into Game Week 31 wildcarding with an extra transfer saved in the bank, so I can play around with the team a bit more for when the doubles in 33 come around. So I'll have 3 free transfers come that week, hopefully, and I can start moving some of the Palace players. For example, if I bring in a Mateta on my wildcard for potentially Villa, like we spoke about, Watkins, or for whatever doubles are going to come up in the future. So, Gianni, I'm going to wrap it up there. You've got 30 seconds left on your Zoom timer. Any last words, my friend?
No, I think that's all it from me. I mean, just enjoy the break, guys. It's going to be a full-on run-in, but enjoy the next couple of weeks with little, and don't make any transfers.
Yeah, enjoy the week off, guys. Do us a favor before you leave. Do hit that like button, and we appreciate you being here every single Sunday. And as usual, we will see you in the next.